and my clients are scared. I am an estate planning and elder law attorney. Estate planning and elder law. That's what we do. That's what Brenton Begley on our show does. And I'm happy to have them here as guests today. I'm Greg McIntyre. We have Brenton Begley. Thank you for being here, Brenton.
Yeah.
Brenton, JD, LLM. Brenton is an attorney in our firm. And we have Hayden Soloway.
Good morning.
Who has worked with me and argued with me for years. And will continue to do so today. I guarantee it. So stay tuned for an interesting discussion today. We have been posing some questions. I don't want to attribute my social media life, right, and my sordid social media life and everything else to you, Hayden, or Brenton. But I've been posing some questions out there. The questions are, is there a way to open the economy and protect those who are the most vulnerable? As an estate planning and elder law attorney, let's just say that I care deeply about my clients and their families. I care deeply about seniors. And let's just say, as a human being, husband, father of 6, and just all around nice guy, I don't want anybody to die ever out there anywhere of anything.
Or get sick. But
I also live with the reality that I am a human being and that if I go interact with other people, I might catch something anytime before this. I can't stay in a bubble forever. And is there a reasonable middle ground to be had? That's the question. With protecting our constitutional rights and freedoms as American citizens. I'm a veteran of the United States military, of the Navy. My grandfather was in World War II. I would like to think, and I have grandparents who, or great grandparents and relatives who were in all kind of different wars, World War I and wars before that too. And, the question is, and I'm proud of that heritage. There are people who have fought and died in this country for our freedoms. How easily we give them up. So, and how do we balance that with public health? That's what we're going to talk about today. Yeah. And I want you to call in. I don't care if you want to scream at me today. Call in and scream at me. Don't do it. Or scream at your radio. Whatever you want to do. But call in, 704-435-2844. We'd invite you to call in, pose your questions, give your statements, and we will treat you with respect. I'm not even going to ask that you treat me with respect, but I promise you we'll treat you with respect. And we'll consider your question. So, those are some of my concerns, questions. Certainly we want to keep people safe. We're going to discuss families out there who are just hurting. And this thing has a disparate impact. You remember those words in law school?
I do.
In Supreme Court cases? It really, really impacts low-income wage earners and minorities, the shutdown. I care about low-income wage earners and minorities. I have a lot of clients that fit that description in the past. I have clients who are rich folks. I have clients of all races, colors, and creeds. And I care about them all. I care about my elderly clients. And I want to keep them safe. But the question is, have we gone to the extreme? How scared of we are we? It's not. How scared are we of the unknown, of the unseen? And is fear controlling our lives right now? And how can we not allow it to control our lives? That's the question.
I think the big thing, too, is just asking the questions in general.
I agree. Nobody's asking the question.
That's right. A big thing that I would turn people's attention to is, the question of whether or not your rights are being infringed upon by the government in general, I mean, all the time. That's something that you should be watching out for.
Sure.
As
you need to have vigilance in protecting your rights.
That's right.
Yeah.
What did Thomas Jefferson say? You should jealously guard your rights?
Guard your rights.
That's
yes.
right. Yeah. And there's some things that are happening out there that scare me. Right. As someone who has gone through law school and has studied constitutional law extensively, right? And it really begs the question as to whether or not some of these reactions that we've had to the coronavirus and trying to protect people, right? Because that's the ultimate goal. But have we gone too far and also violated people's rights by doing so, right? We want to strike a balance there. We don't want to both, we don't want to go too far when it comes to protecting people, right? By leaving, some bad things in our wake, right? Because we can go too far, and people are individuals. They know that if you give them the guidelines, they can follow it and choose things for themselves. You don't have to treat people as if they are, children and don't know how to act. And that's one argument out there. Or should we have harsh guidelines? Should we care about how it affects people's rights?
The road to hell was paved with good intentions. The road to hell was paved with good intentions. That comes to mind when you say that.
Right.
We have a caller?
We do. We have a caller for you, Greg and crew. Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, sir. I got
Milton, I can't hear you or the caller.
Okay.
Hello?
Try your volume.
Maybe you can tell me this, and maybe you can't.
So I can't hear the caller.
on
Can
just
anybody else hear the caller?
Wait a minute,
Okay, we're
wait.
going to continue until we can fix out
All right.
until we
Okay.
can
Sorry
work
about
out
that.
those technical difficulties. So would love to talk to the caller, but would need to be able to hear the caller. So yeah, I think that we need to make sure people are scared. Hayden, why are people scared? Why are people over 65 scared right now?
Well, there is death, but the disease itself can be extremely painful. Terrible headaches and not being able to breathe and things like this. But it's about 80-20. 20% of the people that I read on Facebook are wanting the right to go back to work, to make money. They can't make their house payment or their car payment, or their business. They're going to lose their business.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how the government is treating business rent as opposed to domestic rent. My sister and I have 2 small houses. I don't know what their rights are under these new plans. I don't know if they have to pay the money eventually, or whether we're just kind of writing that off. It's not
Or whether it's
scaring
on
me
you,
now,
the
but
land,
it is income.
or whether it's on you, the landlord, to suffer the losses.
Yeah, and that may be the case. And
Is that okay?
we're not going to go there.
Why? I mean, why? Nothing we're talking about is going to be political today. If that's I don't want to talk politics today. The question is it fair to put the economic burden? Somebody's got to pay for the house. Somebody's got to pay the rent, on the house, the mortgage on the house. Somebody's got to pay the bills. Somebody's got to keep the house up.
Yep.
Is it fair to put that on the landlord? And has the government come to you and your sisters and offered you any kind of support in exchange for them telling people they don't have to pay rent?
No. I'm hoping that this is going to be, I think we can get to a point where we can protect the people who want to distance and who still are going to make every effort to protect themselves and their families. I think we can do that. But I also think we can open up commerce. I think we can set aside 1 or 2 days to, set up 1 or 2 days a week where all the businesses, let me put that right, the business that provide essential services, just like we have right now, if they could open up 2 days a week, 1 or 2 days a week, depending on how many people, are involved, just like it is now. And then the rest of the days of the week, 5 or so days, open it up for commerce for anyone, and if you want to go to a restaurant and eat. You can sit down. But on the days where it is preserved for the older people, the people with pre-existing conditions, the ones who really are the most vulnerable, they will still have their days to where they can be as protected as they are now.
Right.
I mean, I don't know why we can't just work out. That's not the plan, but that's just a start of thinking of how we can have our cake and eat it too, because I believe we can.
Yeah, and I think the important thing that you're doing is, you know, asking the question in general and kind of coming up with some sort of solution where maybe, you know, we could provide some relief for these quote unquote non-essential businesses. I think all businesses are essential.
Well,
right?
I know Shay's,
And I understand the governor's order and that if you know we're going to have a shelter in place, you have to shut some businesses down. So I get that. But those businesses deserve some type of you know relief as well, right?
What about the relief that the government's offering right now? The triple P loans, or the you know, the payroll protection program, or the SBA loans.
Right. Have you heard anyone who's gotten that yet?
I have not. I have heard a rumor that one person has gotten it, but they own a very big business. See, the thing is they call small business, or they call the businesses for these loans anywhere, I want to say, from 500 or less employees.
Right.
Like that. 500 or less. But they have to enter it in that portal. So unless you have some kind of SBA number or something like that, whereby you're sure that your bank has entered that loan into the SBA system, then you do not have a loan application in for the payroll protection program. I just want to make that clear. I had those conversations. I've had multiple conversations with multiple banks, and they're all doing different things. My fear is this. My fear is that there's going to be preferential treatment in handing out that money. Let me put it this way. If I'm a loan officer and I've got 100 people that have loans with me, and some of them are pretty fat cats, right? And there's a lot of difference between a business with 20 employees and 499 employees, okay? Right. And money and business you do with me. Who am I going to offer that loan to first? Who am I going to spend my time on?
Fat cat, man.
Probably going to spend the time on the fat cats. What about the smaller businesses that have 10 employees? You know? So you need to be in your banker's ears out there if you're a small business owner, and holding your banks accountable to distribute this money equally and fairly. Okay.
Because there's disparate, there's that word again, right. Disparate communication among banks and their customers as to who's giving out those loans, who they're allowing apply for those loans, right? There's different ways that they qualify you to, you know, even be able to put in an application. Maybe you've had you know, regular deposits there for a certain amount of time.
Sure.
Something like that. So that's certainly something that if you're a small business owner, you should be trying to take advantage of.
You should be vigilant about protecting your rights. And rights
Exactly.
to me are really all about, they're all grounded in fairness and equality.
Right.
And when you've got taxpayer-backed dollars that are going out there to help businesses still function, and then you have bankers who are discriminating against who can receive those funds, that's a huge problem on a federal level.
Right.
That is prosecutable. There's a class action against Bank of America right now for doing just that.
Yeah.
We're doing just that.
Yeah.
That's been filed. I'm going to step into the engineering booth and let you guys continue while we get Shay set up, and we're going to hear from the Cleveland County Health Director, DeShay Oliver.
okay, that's fine.
All right. Today's show is brought to you by McIntyre Elder Law, and this is the Elder Law Report. Again, you're listening to the Elder Law Report. My name is Brenton Begley. We're here with Hayden Soloway and
Hi.
Greg McIntyre. Hayden, man,
Put me on the spot.
yeah, a lot of people, probably going stir crazy. We talked about this last time.
Yeah.
You know?
I want to tell you this. I mean, Shay is in the healthcare industry,
Mm-hmm.
and that's her focus. I'm kind of leaning on the other side, but I am extremely, concerned about both sides.
Right.
I'm 72. I have a couple of health issues. I fall in that vulnerable group, even though I'm a fighter and I'm probably trust that I'll be okay. But I try to put it in perspective by comparing Cleveland County, particularly, which is our county, to the Bank of America Stadium.
Okay.
Bank of America Stadium has 75,000 seats approximately. So if you add 25,000 more, that's essentially Cleveland County. We've had one death. If you remove one person, if they said we're going to electrocute someone here today, one person, would anybody move their seat? Would anybody be really scared? You're one of 100,000 people. And we've had 39 pass away as of my last count. And that 39 out of 100,000 people is pretty much what our risk is at this point, unless it grows, and it may continue to, and it may get considerably worse. Nobody really knows whether this is going to have a rapid comeback or whether it's going to fade away in the summer heat. But I feel pretty safe with those numbers.
Right.
And I'm going to continue to wear my mask. I'm going to continue to use the hand sanitizers, wash my hands, and the things that I've been doing, certainly distancing. When I walk with my friend, we're 6 feet apart. We walk side by side, so I'm not collecting, what she breathes out. And I don't even know if that's an issue. But
Well,
so
I'd be
I am
interested.
taking precautions. But I also have friends who have small businesses, and they are just about at the point of desperation.
Right. And I'd be interested to hear what Cleveland County Health Director has to say about, kind of some of those numbers you're throwing out. I think that we want to make sure that we don't minimize any of the risk. And I know that's not, what we're talking about here. I think that the risk is present, and I think that fears are well-founded.
Yes.
Because we don't know how this virus works. It's a novel coronavirus. We don't know how it works. And I think that's why you're still taking precautions, even though you personally have the, concern that there's small businesses out there that are struggling at this time. And I think the real question in this whole thing, and I don't think it has an answer. I think that it's just a question I'd like to pose, and that we're trying to pose on this, show today is there something we can do about that? Is it such a novel and dangerous virus that right now what we're doing is the solution, or, should we look to try to ensure that small businesses and the economy in general, right? Because we're not talking about just small businesses. We're also talking about individuals who have lost jobs. I've read somewhere at some point that every 1% that the unemployment rate goes up, 40,000 people pass away. Well,
and they're estimating that as many as 30% of people in this country could be without work.
Right. That's very scary.
I love to brainstorm. So I thought, why can't we set up a couple of days for everyone who is very concerned about their health and their children and things like this, and continue going for at least 2 days like that. Have everything closed down except essential services, or maybe not. Maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe the people who go to essential services should receive the same protections, the marked off distances at the grocery store, the barrier between the person who's the cashier and the customer. They should be able to be safe in those places a couple of days a week. Make sure that the people who are concerned about their health do that. And then on other days, if there are people who need to work and they need to run their businesses and things like that, can actually do that, and while protecting the rights of the others.
Right.
So, there's bound to be a way we work it out.
I think they cut us. I think they're on the call.
Okay. Hey, guys. Can you all hear me? Shay, you there? Miss Shay, are you there?
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. This is DeShay Oliver. Mrs. Oliver, I'm sorry to say Shay. Can I call you Mrs. Oliver?
That is fine.
Okay, absolutely. We have DeShay Oliver, who is the Cleveland County Healthcare Director, on today, and she is going to give us an update for the way Cleveland County is operating, and tell you how to stay safe out there. Thank you so much for being a guest on the Elder Law Report today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Okay. So Shay, can you tell us exactly, what we should be doing to stay safe right now.
Sure. I think the best thing that absolutely everybody can do, and I think that it's things that people are doing and can continue to do, is, first and foremost, stay home as much as possible in compliance with the governor's order. I know that's easier said than done, but truly the best thing that people can do to protect themselves is, only going out when, absolutely necessary. When going out, try to practice social distancing as much as possible. And that's a term that we're hearing a lot, social distancing. But that basically just means, try to keep as much distance, at least 6 feet away from other individuals as much as possible. Avoid touching your face when you're out in public places before you've washed your hands. Hand washing is extremely important. We get a lot of questions about should individuals wear gloves when they're out in public places, and can that help prevent the spread of the virus? My recommendation is not so much to wear gloves, because even if you're wearing gloves, if you're not changing them out regularly, if you're wearing gloves and you touch your face, you've still potentially exposed yourself to the virus. So more importantly is hand washing. And what I recommend is if you're going in a public place, perhaps the grocery store or wherever it may be, keep some hand sanitizer in your car, and as soon as you get to your car, use that when hand washing is not readily available. We get a lot of questions too about whether or not everybody should wear some type of face covering when going in public places, and the CDC has put out recent recommendations that everybody should, to the extent possible, when going into public places, especially those where social distancing is more difficult, to wear some type of face covering. And I say face covering rather than face mask, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a surgical mask, or certainly not, an N95 that people have been hearing about. We want to try to preserve those for healthcare workers and first responders as much as possible. But it could be a homemade cloth mask, it could be a scarf, it could be a bandana. And this really is more so for protecting others than protecting yourself. A lot of people that have coronavirus are asymptomatic, especially initially, but that doesn't mean that you can't spread it to others. So if everybody wears some type of face covering, that can help people that are carrying it, that are asymptomatic, from giving it to other people. And that's especially important for really helping to protect our most high-risk, vulnerable populations.
Well, that's great information, and that is coming straight from the mouth of somebody that is in the know and is the healthcare director of Cleveland County, a county in North Carolina. And I thank you so much, Ms. Oliver, for putting out that information. Also, for being on the front lines of this. I was walking up to CMC Maine in Charlotte a few days ago, last week. And I put on my mask, I had my hands washed, and it was almost eerie walking up, and scary, because the things that were going through my mind were, if I'm going to get this, it may be here, because people are coming here with the virus. And healthcare workers are there every day working with people and braving this, and really putting their own health at risk and setting their fears aside to be able to deal with it and help us all. So that, to me, deserves a medal and is awesome. So I would thank you and all the doctors and nurses and healthcare workers out there for doing that. And I just went in to see a client and get some documents signed for them and their family, but it was scary just going in, and they go in there every day. So anyway, how are the, do you get to judge the morale and and see how everybody's doing out there in the county and how they're holding up?
I do to some extent. I can speak, on behalf of us as your, local public health department, and somebody, as you mentioned, is certainly, on the front lines and, working in the response to this day in and day out. And, there is no day off. and people are, having to risk, potentially being exposed to do their job and to test people and be on the front lines. But, thankfully we have a great team, and we've not had issues with getting access needed to personal protective equipment. So we feel like we are as protected as much as possible, which mitigates a lot of risk, but there is always, of course, some level of risk. But overall, I think that our morale here is very good, and people are holding up strong. And, public health really is of the mindset of, helping the community and bettering the community. And, this is public health at its best and what we're here for. And I think that people, are happy to be a part of the team and to do their part. So I think that we're holding up fine, and we certainly want to thank everybody else that's on the front line. It's not just healthcare; it's our EMS and law enforcement and people that work in food services, grocery stores,
That's
pharmacies.
a great point.
Sure is.
That is an amazing point. It's not just healthcare workers. It is healthcare workers, but it's also, the people working in the fast food industry.
Absolutely. People have to eat. People have to have access to medicine. There's a lot of other people out there that, are doing their part to continue those essential services. But, outside of that, the community plays an extremely important part as well, as far as, taking those preventive measures. Those things that people can do to help prevent the spread of the virus is equally as important to those people that are doing their part to test and treat it.
Absolutely. And I thank you for bringing that out. I don't think enough's being said about the people that are bringing us our groceries, or are working on the front lines of this thing, regardless if you're in healthcare or not. So I appreciate that. I appreciate what you've done. I think you've really, really shined during this time, Miss Oliver. I can tell you that from my perspective and from a lot of others' perspective. And I appreciate your guidance, your you seem to have a firm handle on everything, and you seem to be getting the job done. And I was talking to someone else the other day about wartime promotions. When there's crisis like this, the people who are meant to step up and lead do, and I think you have, and I appreciate that.
Well, I certainly appreciate you saying that, but I also want to be very clear that it's a team effort, not just of public health, but as others, as I mentioned. But you're only as strong as your weakest link, and I think that we have an amazing team here.
And part of leadership and part of, or how about the biggest part of leadership, in my experience, is not you shining as the individual or trying to, but being able to involve your team and keep their morale up and keep them moving in the right direction and considering what their wishes are too. And, I just appreciate everything you bring to the table. Thank you for the information that you put out today. I really appreciate that, and coming on this forum to be able to just spread the word. My last question would be this. If people believe or think that they might be sick, Mrs. Oliver, if they think that they might have COVID-19, the coronavirus, what should they do? Who should they call? What should they do?
If people think that they may have COVID-19, the best thing that they can do is, stay home and isolate themselves from others as much as possible. Contact their healthcare provider, whomever that may be, whether that the health department, or if you have, a doctor that you normally go to, give them a call. Most doctors' offices can do an assessment over the phone, or what they call a virtual assessment.
Sure.
And they can, talk with you and assess the different symptoms that you may have and determine whether or not COVID-19 testing is necessary. If they do determine that it would be to your benefit to be tested, then, different healthcare providers have a different means of doing that. Atrium has the ability to do a virtual assessment and is doing testing through a mobile med unit that is set up on Grover Street right next to Atrium Cleveland, where the old health department is located. We're doing testing here through the health department. Other private providers are doing their own testing and working through their commercial labs. So, but they'll speak with you. They'll do an assessment. They'll determine whether testing is necessary. If it is determined that you meet the criteria and you do seem to be symptomatic for COVID-19, they will schedule a time for you to go to wherever it is that they're doing their testing and have you tested for that. It's certainly recommended that, if you are symptomatic and you're being tested, that you wear a mask if you have one available whenever you arrive to help prevent, spreading the virus to others potentially. And I just really want to emphasize the importance of calling in advance and scheduling that appointment so the providers can be prepared and ensure that, they have the appropriate protective equipment on and be ready to care for you.
Well, that runs the gamut of the questions that I had, Mrs. Oliver, and I so much appreciate you coming on and doing the Elder Law Report show today. And stay safe. I know Brenton and Hayden may have a question for you or something to discuss, if you're willing to entertain it. Hayden, did you have something?
I did. Do you know if the one patient that we've lost, is that still just the one person?
Yes, ma'am. To date, we have lost one person to COVID-19 in Cleveland County, and I certainly hope that that will be the last. But we also know how serious this virus can be, especially for those that are considered to be at high risk. And this individual that did pass from it, unfortunately, was an individual that was considered to be very high risk for the virus.
Do you know if she was treated with the hydroxychloroquine?
I do not.
Okay. I was just curious about that. I've been watching that. I think everybody has, just because it's such a hopeful thing. But are we still at 39 cases?
Actually, as of today, we are now at 40 cases in Cleveland County.
Okay.
We were staying steady at 39 for several days, and I think that's reassuring. I can't necessarily say that because our numbers have slowed, that means that we have in fact reached our peak. But I think it's reassuring. It shows that our numbers are kind of plateauing, and I hope that means that we'll continue to see those numbers slow and maybe have some sense of returning to normalcy sometime in the near future.
Well, thank you, Ms. Oliver. I appreciate you being on today, and just thank you for what you do. Stay safe out there, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Thank you so much.
Okay. And so, this show is brought to you by the Elder Law Report and McIntyre Elder Law. This show is called the Elder Law Report. It's brought to you by McIntyre Elder Law. We did this show for years. We brought it back during this crisis because I think there's a lot to be talked about. McIntyre Elder Law is here for you, for seniors and their families. We help in any way we can. We are open in the office. We do virtual video conferences and phone conferences and curbside signings, everything else. If you need us, please go online to mcelderlaw.com or call 704-749-9244 and we can help, okay? You can chat with us right on the website or give us a call and chat with one of our great communication specialists that will help you and your family get a consult set up. Right now, consults are free. You heard me? Free. We have waived our consult fee because that is what I feel like we need to do as a community service during this time. And our civic duty is to give legal advice to families free of charge during our consult, okay? So we are entertaining free consults, 704-749-9244, if you would like to look at getting your affairs in order.
I'd like to say something about that.
Sure.
Those offices are cleaned. There is hand sanitizer as you walk in the door. It's on the conference room table. You will really enjoy the staff. Greg has a great group of people. They're friendly and they'll make you feel welcome. You're not going to get a hard sell when you come in there. Greg is going to talk to you about what your options are, how to protect not only yourself, I mean, that you're doing, but also how to protect your money. We're all a little bit afraid for our health, and it will be reassuring, I think, if you do happen to come down with what is hopefully a very light case, you don't have that fear that I didn't do what I needed to do. And this is a free consult. So I'm just saying, go for it. This is a great time.
Thank you. Thank you, Hayden.
And
I appreciate it.
Greg and Brenton, you couldn't ask for two nicer people. They are friendly and kind. They love kids. I mean, they're great guys.
We're going to roll into a call. Milton, we have a caller.
Yeah, we sure do.
We got our technical difficulties figured out. Billy.
Yes, sir. This message question is for Greg.
Yes, I am Greg. Please.
Okay. I'm on disability because I'm blind.
I'm sorry to hear that, Billy. Billy, I think we've talked before.
We might have, yeah. People that's on disability, will they be getting one of them checks that they mailing out?
That is a great question, and I've had a chance to research that question over the last week, Billy. And from my research and what's posted on the IRS website is that if you are on disability, even SSI, you should still be eligible and receive a stimulus check. Now, here's where the complication comes in. Here's the rub. Herein lies the rub. I like that saying. So, Billy, people who have filed tax returns in 2019, they're going to use that contact information to mail that check out and those numbers. If you haven't filed your 2019 return, people who filed taxes in 2018, okay, are going to be, they're going to be using that contact information and financial information to calculate the return, is my understanding, according to the IRS. And people who have not filed taxes, they have a one-page form. Apparently, the Department of the Treasury has developed a one-page form that you can fill out to still receive the check. But you would have to go complete that one-page form. I would advise you to contact the IRS or your local IRS office to explore your options as to how to fill that out, or you can go online and Google it like I did, and it's right there on the IRS's website. I hope I answered your question, and I've answered many people's questions like that by chat and by email and by phone call who have sent us messages over the last week.
Right. You wouldn't happen to have that phone number handy, would you?
You know what? I wouldn't, but Google does. So give me 1 second, and I'm going to pull that up for you, okay?
Okay, thank you, sir. Don't knock this down.
I was looking at this list. I've got a list of the number of cases in each state, and I think North Carolina is maybe the 8th largest, but we're like 15th in the number of deaths. But it's so the differences are astounding. 15,000 in California, 7,000 in Connecticut, the Florida 14,000, Illinois 13,000, Louisiana 16,000, Michigan 15,000. So, and our 5,024 is a high number, but when we look at some of these other places, it's just I can understand why people are afraid.
Hey, Billy.
We don't know where we're going to go.
Hey, Billy, that phone number, okay, for the IRS, for individuals, is 800-829-1040, 800-829-1040. And for callers who are hearing impaired, they can call 800-829-4059.
Yeah, it was 829.
1040, 800, toll free, 800-829-1040.
Okay, well, I sure appreciate that.
All right. It pains me to give the IRS free business, but I'll do it anyway. All right. Thanks, Billy.
Yeah.
All right, bye.
1040. Thank you,
Okay.
sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Great question. Good to talk to you, Billy. All right. Anybody else out there who has any questions or comments or things to talk about our main question? We're going to discuss for the rest of the time, for the home stretch, the last 20 minutes, we're going to discuss, is there a way to open the economy and protect those who are vulnerable to the virus? Is there a compromise? Is there a middle ground? Things you rarely find in politics today. And why do I say that? And I said earlier, I give and I take away and I'll go back and forth. I said that we're not going to get into politics or partisanism, but it's become a political issue. It's become a political issue. So is there a way to do it? And
Well,
if you have a question about that, call us. 704-435-2844. 704-435-2844 to ask your questions.
Well, this is a political issue, but it doesn't seem to be necessarily split between political parties. but between the parties who want to hold on to the safety and maintain the restrictions, and the people who want to open up and get back, and get our commerce moving. So it's political in that respect, I think.
Right.
I think for individuals, it's not necessarily that political. I think that individuals have values and concerns and fears, and I don't think that it's as simple as saying it's just a political issue for those people, because I think a lot of people see both sides. And, that's the problem with kind of going to one partisan side or the other is, you don't get to have that middle ground, and you don't get to have that silent majority.
You only see one half
voice.
of the opinions.
That's right.
I mean, how powerful is it to be able to consider everyone else's point of view and put yourself in their shoes?
Right.
If I put myself in a senior's shoes right now, then, I don't want to go get that virus because they're telling me it might kill me if I'm over 65, and I get it, and I'm a vulnerable part of the population, or if I have other health concerns out there, not just seniors, right? But then if I'm a person who has worked and toiled and blood, sweat, and tears to build a business, and right now I'm looking at bankruptcy and how am I going to feed my family, and really mass socialism,
Right.
and redistribution of wealth,
Right.
then I might be a little concerned right now too. I'd be scared and quaking in my boots.
Massive government spending.
Massive government spending.
Yes.
Who's going to fit that bill? Who's going to pay it back?
This is uncharted territory,
Right.
the way I heard it described the other day, and it really is.
It
It doesn't
it
show any
is.
sign of stopping.
Yes, but if we handle it in extreme ways, is that the right way to handle it? Is there a way to? Is there some middle ground there?
And,
That's
you
been
know-
my question.
I believe United States citizens can do it. We came here from
What's the difference in
foreign
United-
countries. We
Okay.
took risks.
Why did we? That's a great question. Oh God, that's a great question. Why did we come here?
Yeah.
Why did we come here? Did we come here so we could get locked down and have all our freedoms taken away?
We came here.
Why did we
the
come
exact
here?
opposite.
Well,
Well,
freedom from
we
tyranny.
have
We-
to, yeah, right.
we
It
fought
was-
wars over it.
It was originally religious freedom they
Sure.
wanted from the Bank of, for the Church of England, and being forced to, be there. But anyway, also
and then
to-
freedom from taxation without representation.
Exactly.
right? You know,
yeah.
Freedom from tyranny in general. And tyranny is something that, you have to take in context. Tyranny, if you've heard it over and over again throughout history, her history class, you probably think of that being some king or some despot, just controlling every aspect of individuals' lives. But what tyranny is infringement on individual rights, God-given, inalienable individual rights. That's what tyranny is. And what we have to be careful, and we've said this time and time again, we have to be vigilant and careful of, when the government does act. And I'm saying the government as federal, state, city, county, whoever it is, right? When they act, are they overreaching? And, we learned, again, throughout history class and probably throughout a lot of conversations you've had with political or otherwise that, we have checks and balances, and our government was founded on the principle of having checks and balances so that no one branch has any more power than the other. But what you probably haven't heard is the fact that, the people is the check on the government. We are what keeps the government from overreaching, because the government is the people.
what's the difference between us and China right now?
Well, a few things.
Okay. Can any of us go out of our houses? I was thinking the other day that I would hate to see, in historical perspective, the symbol of oppression and the symbol of oppression, government overreach, and the removal of all American constitutional rights, civil rights, and human rights being hashtag stay at home.
Yeah.
Well, there are a lot of infringements. One person was on a paddleboard all by himself. He got called out on it. Now, I don't know if it was a fine. I don't know if it was I don't know what the consequences were. But other people, a man and his son were in a field with nobody else around, and he was tossing a ball with his son. And, people like that have...
Or the people in Mississippi who went to the drive-in church.
There are all these...
The drive-in church,
Yes,
that got
in their
$500
cars.
fines. which the state, I believe the
Judicial Department.
the judicial branch, the judicial department has for the U.S. has backed those parishioners, right?
Right.
They back those
Right.
those churchgoers.
Yeah,
and
when-
in Cleveland County and in North Carolina. How about this? I can go to the liquor store. I can buy all the liquor. I don't know if they've rationed it yet or not. I can buy all the liquor right now, but I can't go to church.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you want to talk about a constitutional infringement of rights? There's nowhere in the Constitution you have the right to go to the liquor store. Maybe enjoyment of life or something. I don't
Right.
know. But there is a right for religious freedom
Well-
and freedom from religious
Yeah,
persecution.
and when we're talking about infringement upon rights, we're talking about your First Amendment right, freedom of speech. We're talking
Right.
about your First Amendment right, freedom of assembly. First Amendment right, freedom of religion. We're talking about privacy. Let me ask you
What about
something.
freedom of movement?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you something, Greg. You did criminal law for a long time, didn't you?
I did.
You did. So, is the stay-at-home order? Do you think that could be a pretext for police officers to be able to pull someone over?
Oh, absolutely.
You think we handed police officers
Why are you
probable
driving?
cause on
Why are
silver
you
platter?
driving?
Yeah,
why are you driving?
Where
right
you
now?
going?
What else do you have in the car?
Yeah,
You look, you look like you're nervous. Let me search your car.
yeah.
Here, I'm going to put my
I smell something.
I'm going to put my canine in your car.
That's right.
Let's roll. What do you have any weapons? What else? I mean, that's how those stops go. Is they're expanded very broadly. They get really serious really quickly. If you want to know, ask somebody in your family who's been stopped and that's happened to.
Right.
Okay. And you could stop somebody just because you see them driving down the road now. I would argue. I think that could happen.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
That has
That should be
happened.
scary to a lot of people out there.
Yeah.
Especially people who were profiled by the police or complain that they are, right? Or, I mean, it should be scary to a lot of people out there, okay? And that's real. That's real. I support law enforcement and what they're doing right now, right? We had Sheriff Alan Norman on the show last week.
But
However,
he may be the
what-
exception
The point you're saying, well, okay,
or annex.
let's be realistic. I have practiced in that field of law for a long time. I did, okay? And I'm just telling you, if it is arguable right now that you could stop someone for simply driving a car.
Right. That's scary.
It is scary. They could stop you for no reason, or for the reason that maybe you're just out of the house.
Yeah. I mean, what if the government does something, I mean, generally right now too, and we want to protest?
Well, that happened
That's
yesterday in
happened
Raleigh.
twice. And,
Yeah.
and
What happened in Raleigh?
In Raleigh, there was a protest for #ReopenNC. Okay, that's been a movement on the other side of, I guess, #CloseNC for forever, or for a long time. And there's small business owners up there. There's other people that are really hurting. They're crying. They're like, look, we got to get back to work. We need to do something. We need to figure something out. And I think it was the Capitol Police, the police that are on there in the Capitol grounds came out and said, look, you have to disperse right now under the executive order of the governor. And if you do not disperse, we are going to arrest you. And they arrested one woman who seemed to go very peacefully. But I thought how much, and I've thought that a lot over the last few years, that we live in an upside down, crazy world. If you remember Superman, Bizarro world, it was like the opposite of this world. We live in this crazy world right now where things are upside down. There are people being arrested for protesting to go to work. It's not like they're they're protesting to get unemployment checks,
Right.
or they're protesting for welfare benefits. They're protesting to go to work.
Yeah, they're using one
There are
fundamental right,
Right.
to advocate for another fundamental right.
well,
Right.
that gets back to something too.
and they're arrested because of it, because we've
And-
issued a state of emergency and executive orders which trample on the Constitution that we should hold sacred.
Yeah, and there's some precedent. Well, let's be clear right now. We've just set a precedent with the #stay at home. We've just set maybe a dangerous precedent. And, we've had instances in the past where state of emergency has been declared, and even, attempts at martial law, things like that. And we have to be very, very careful when the government does something like that. We're weighing the interests of the collective versus individual rights, and we have to trust that the government can do that correctly. But what we see whenever there's a state of emergency like we have now, because there's been state of emergencies, but not like we've had now, okay? And, martial law, something like that, what that is, and we need to understand this, is a suspension of individual rights. And, I'm a history buff, right?
Sure.
I especially American history, love it. And but throughout history, anytime that rights have been suspended or taken away in whatever way, when they're given back, they're usually not given back in the same nature.
Right.
And we have to think about that. How is the world going to look like on the other side of this?
Well, let me bring up another point, too. I don't want to get off of this point, but I do want to express how different the communities are and why we're all held to the same standards. Where Mecklenburg has, let's see, where did I have it? 10,051 cases per million. Cleveland County has much less. I mean, you're talking about the difference between a small county and a large county, and they ought to be treated differently.
So, and there's a movement right now, that's underway, that's underfoot. There's a movement. There's letters being written to the governor.
Gaston County's involved.
Gaston County wrote one. Milton printed one out for me before we started. Dear Governor Cooper, where they're asking Gaston County, and it's from the Lincoln County. This is Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. And I think Gaston County is doing a similar thing, but they're all asking for autonomy and being able to set their own rules in regards to this thing. So,
well,
and
there's
really,
questions as to who has the authority to tell them that, whether it's the federal government or the president or the governor or the county commissioners or whatever. Nobody seems really sure where that boundary is, and I don't.
Management works best in this country. Government works best when
it's closest to you.
When it's closest to you, when it's local, when it's from the bottom up.
You feel like you have redress.
Right.
If someone at the state level, Governor Cooper would be, of course, I suppose that, or President Trump, they get further away from us. We can't talk to them. We can't look them in the eye and say, my business is falling apart. I cannot make payments on the building. You go through these things with someone you can see eye to eye. And
what would you say though to someone who says, yeah, but you're going to put people at risk if you open it back up right now? You're an elder law attorney. You work with an elder law attorney. You're on the air with me all the time. We talk about things.
I'm not an elder law
You're a
attorney.
senior yourself.
I'm a senior.
Right? I hate to say that.
That's it.
Okay.
I don't have any problem with that. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad I lived to be 72 years old.
That's young. I think 72 is young. But you're a senior. You're advocating something that could really put seniors in danger.
Well, you were talking with Ms. Oliver earlier, and
right.
Brenton and I were having our own conversation here, and we did not know that you were not privy to this.
Because I had to, because there were some technical difficulties.
Right, and
out
that
there.
is unusual. These guys take care of us, and they do a good job.
Yes.
This was a little bit technical difficulties. But one of the things that we were talking about was how we can have our cake and eat it too by allowing a couple of days where people who want to stay inside and stay away from groups and wear the masks and do what they're being advised to do to protect themselves, where they can have a couple of days to go where they want to go and know that those places are going to protect them. They're going to space people apart. They're going to have the barriers between the checkout counter and the person, and all of the things that we have seen occur during this lockdown, I'll call it, or shutdown or whatever. But
so you think there's a way to do both?
Maybe other days of the week,
there's a compromise.
Let people who open their businesses, let them sell the pizza or the cupcakes or whatever, but so they don't lose those. Some of these people invested every penny they have, and I know two businesses in our city invested everything they had, and they're going to lose it.
In my discussions over the last several days, that has been one of the big things. If you're thinking about your pocketbook, I've heard people say, if you're thinking about your pocketbook, then if you're thinking about your pocketbook, then you should not be making this decision. You should not be in the discussion.
I've heard the same, expressed in a different way, and it's considered selfish to
Yeah. Oh, you're being selfish.
to
Right.
Is the
want to
Constitution
provide for
selfish?
your
That's what I
family,
would ask.
to want to provide for your family,
Right.
And that's
How is that
essentially what it
selfish?
is.
Yeah, I think that what you're getting to, Hayden, and what we're really getting to here is, if you're asked the question, if I'm asked the question, hey, you're an elder law attorney, your clients are a vulnerable population, why would you think that we should, open up the economy,
do it in a thoughtful way.
lift the stay-at-home order, that sort of thing? I would say, first of all, great point, right? And second of all, I would just answer that question with a question. Well, can it be done? I think that's really what we're trying to do. What we're trying to figure out is have the conversation, because there are those out there who will shut a conversation down if you try to have it, whether you're being partisan or not, whether you're trying to just figure out a solution.
What about the economic question? Is it selfish to say that, to speak about the economy right now in a public health crisis?
I would
as it's
say,
called?
Greg, you have a big family.
Yeah, I do. Eight, yeah.
Yeah, you got to feed 8 people.
Yep.
I mean, do you feel selfish when you feed your children?
I feel unselfish, actually.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's my duty and responsibility to take care of my family.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel the same way.
And my clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you feel selfish when you pay your bills or any obligations?
Yeah, the
that
power
you have?
company's being selfish when they charge the power bill. Are they gonna waive that power bill?
Oh, not yet. They
Yeah,
haven't yet.
I mean, so let's say we shut down the country for 2 years, a year and a half, 18 months, right?
right.
Or what happens to food supplies? What happens to manufacturers that shut down?
Look at the dairies who are having to destroy millions of gallons
Yeah.
of milk.
Right.
They may not be able to operate again.
Yeah.
Milk will become more expensive.
My fear is what may come. Where we're at right now,
the
scares
valuation
me.
of the dollar.
And then where we're headed, and we're putting ourselves there without thought about how to deal with this. At some point, you have to say, I'm a human being. I'm not going to stop being a human being. We need to live with this, and we need to put in place protective measures to protect the vulnerable, and we have to be reasonable, but we also don't want to put people out of business, and we also don't want to have families starve and go hungry and take away their pride. And people need purpose. People need purpose in this world. Without purpose, things go bad, and people need purpose. And a thriving economy, working people, that gives people purpose. I guarantee you, putting 32 million businesses out of business across the country will kill more people than this virus ever would.
Yeah.
And over time, I guarantee you. And I don't have to have a medical license to tell you that. Okay.
Well, when one out of 100,000 people has died, and we pray none other do, that leaves a lot of room for feeling safer, I think, than if you disregard the statistics.
The letter from the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners, actually, Milton, thank you for highlighting a part in here. It says the longer businesses are not allowed to function. This is the letter to Rory Cooper. The longer businesses are not allowed to function or cannot operate due to restrictions, the further each county and the state of North Carolina will descend into economic chaos. Please accept this letter as an official request to allow all county governments the ultimate authority to reopen businesses, churches, and industries in their respective county.
Right.
That is a call. What you are hearing is calls of the restoration of rights and freedoms. This thing could turn bad quickly, and I don't want it to. So we need to hear people. We need to talk about it. We don't need to keep it pent up, and it doesn't need to be, people don't need to lash out in negative ways. So I think there needs to be a real dialogue among all people and with our government officials about what's going on, and our medical professionals. And I see a lot of medical professionals out there which are hardliners. They're like, no, we've got to close the economy. They're taking care of people. They're doing a great job, and that's great. But they also don't understand that the economic impact of this has everything to do with it.
I think
And that our deprivation of freedoms has everything to do with it. And you have to consider that also with keeping people safe and healthy.
I think some healthcare workers do consider that.
Well, I'd like to see a dialogue.
Well, my
about that and reason
nephew
this.
is a surgeon in New York. He
Sure.
works for a group of hospitals, And he has expressed to me his feeling also that New York is going to change dramatically.
Well,
And things
I think
like
we're going to
that.
go. I think we can go back to normal. I think we can go fully back. It annoys me actually when we're never going to be the same. I don't agree with that. If you look at history, we're the same. I mean, after plagues, after everything else, we come back. We're human beings, and we figure it out. The sooner, the better. That's my thought. And
Americans just do that.
I thank both of you for taking part in this tough discussion. Thank you for our callers. Thank you for Miss DeShay Oliver, Cleveland County Healthcare Director, for coming on. Thank you for everybody who's going through this. And we'll be back next week at 10 a.m. on the Elder Law Report. Thank you, Milton. If you'll play us out, if you guys want to take advantage of our free consult during this time, we're estate planning and elder law attorneys. Call 704-749-9244 or go online to mcelderlaw.com. Peace. There's not enough time. We could do that. That's why you could do that morning talk show for 4 hours.
Dude,
That's 8.
we need to.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, there's.
Well, let
you're
me
right.
explain.
That outline there's more there. We could do the same show next week.
Who would you want to replace on Political Smackdown one time? Because they get people to replace them when they're on vacation.
All of them.
No, whose seat would